This is such a topic that is so near and dear to my heart, and I share about it openly. I share about it a lot. And a friend recently asked, how did you make friends with your son's autism, and how, really struggling with how to get past that and sort of move on to being in a better place about it. So I've been doing some thinking about it, and I know that this may not apply to everyone who may be listening or who follows me and may see this, but every one of us has challenges in life. And I think a lot of these concepts can apply to anything that's going on in our lives that was, one, unexpected. I never knew I would have a child with autism. I used to work with kids with special needs and never imagined it being a part of my life in that way, so closely. Also, something that's unknown. There's not a clear path. It's not at all like some illnesses. There is like, okay, this is what you're diagnosed with. Here's what you need to do. And the path is clear. You follow that, and hopefully you end up with recovery, or the illness is gone and you're good. Sometimes with some cancers, even with some other illnesses, that it's not always clear cut. It's like, well, you can try this, but you have this sort of form, so then you maybe need to try this, and you may need to add in this, but these other things might happen, side effects or things, so you need to go this route. With autism, it is just that. It is never the same for any child or any family, and it's always not totally predictable how your child's going to respond to any certain intervention or type of therapy or biomedical intervention that you might do with dieting or anything, things like that, and changing their diet or dealing with allergies. So it is truly a trial and error and a sort of figure it out on your own type of process, which can be very daunting and very challenging. Many people don't realize that, I think. They think, okay, you get this diagnosis and then they need to do this, and so they'll do that and they'll be okay. It's not that way. Autism families know that, but other people often don't know that. So these are the things that were helpful to me. Hey, Tony, what's up? I know you've been through this, so you can relate. These are some things that were helpful to me, and it truly is different for everybody. And this is my mom opinion, as well mixed with some of my sort of expert prior professional knowledge opinion. But for me, how I made friends with and how I have worked through, and it's not always perfect, and it's not done, and it's not, a picture perfect story. It's just how I deal with it every day, day in and day out. Number one, I really stopped looking at what things should be like or what I should do. I really had to set aside what other people might think about how my family should function, or how my life should look like, or what events I should be able to attend, and how my child should act in those circumstances. Because nobody else knows what's going on in my child's particular situation and our family's particular situation as well as I do. So how would I expect them to know or to be aware of that? But I just sort of had to set aside any preconceived ideas about someone else thinking my life should be a certain way. Even close family members, even my mom and dad, even, them thinking that we should have our child go to a certain school at a certain point in his life, that wasn't what I was going to pay attention to. I really had to stop and pay attention to what made sense for us. So I encourage you to stop thinking about what should be and how you should be able to live your life, and think about what works for you in that moment. That's one thing that really did help me to make friends with it and to move through it. Another thing, I focused on non-judgment, and that was so important. And this related to the message that a friend sent me, asking a little bit about, how do I move through this? How do I deal with this? Because I then start to look at my own failures, my own ways of maybe not helping my child as much as I want to. And days of feeling guilty and angry about the diagnosis, or angry about the situation in the moment that's going on. Some moments with kids on the spectrum are not pretty. They are messy, possibly physically messy, definitely emotionally messy, And you can't always know what's the right answer of what to do in that situation. It can be very unpredictable. And so we do tend to, I think, blame ourselves about, why didn't I handle that situation better? Why didn't I know what to do to prevent that my child from breaking down in that situation? Or, hey, thanks so much for liking. I can tell you, at least you can hear me. Looking at like, why didn't I stop this? Why did I take them to that situation with lots of people if I knew they were going to have a meltdown? Or why did I have them go to school full time if I wasn't sure they were ready? Some of those things we just have to try. We just have to try them out. And I get emotional thinking about it because I think of the moments when I've judged myself or I've questioned, am I doing the right thing? And I think we have to really practice that non-judgment for our children and for the situation, for the diagnosis, but also for, most importantly, for ourselves. And know that we really are doing the best in the moment, even if it's one of those days that's really pretty a bad day. You could say an off day. And be okay. Yeah, I got angry that day, but there's so many other moments and so many other days where I love my child with all my heart and do everything that I can to help them. And be okay with you even on those days that you do get angry or that you do feel guilty. And just to kind of acknowledge it and move through it, move past it and not get stuck there. Number 3 is putting my energy toward everything that I can that is positive and letting go of all of the other stuff that's negative or that is not helping me to be the best that I can for my child. And that truly was important. I can't stress that enough on how much I focused on taking care of me so I could be there for my child, so I could take care of my family, my other son and my husband as well. And I said no to so many other things. I started saying no to a lot of family things even that we didn't do. Bigger family things or going to events that wouldn't serve him well and that would just make me stressed out. Also not volunteering for this and that and everything else. I started to really focus on what am I going to do to help him, to help me, and that's it. Now I'm able to do some of those other things and bring some of those other things back into my life. But it took a long time, and I was okay with saying no to a lot of those things. The other thing is, I think, is keeping perspective. So that energy and that positive focus was so key. And on those days when we do get stuck in the behavior that's out of control or that's really causing huge sort of feels like chaos in our lives or our families, is stepping back and looking at the bigger picture. Hey, Julie. Stepping back and looking at the bigger picture. And I've had friends that have been through the autism journey before and in it themselves. And sometimes they would remind me, like, okay, like that's the rough part today. And that's the part where he's falling apart and it seems like things aren't going well. But let's step back and look at the entire picture and look at where he's come from and, you know, where you're going to, and like see that where you're going to really strongly and really clearly. It's sort of hard to see it now even. It's sort of hard to think, what is my child going to look like when he's 25? And you know, is it going to be like a typical 25-year-old? I don't know. Maybe I just try to focus on that it's going to be okay and it's going to be good. And then also figure that, you know, he's come so far already. I could have never imagined that, although I stayed strong in that belief that it would happen. And that I have no idea what the next 12 years, he's 12 now, so what the next 12 years may hold. And sort of staying present in the moment with myself on the times that just feel like crap. For lack of a better word, they just feel pretty crappy and pretty scary. And just sort of staying present with that idea in mind that it won't always be that way. It won't always be in the moment where I remember with like potty training, and that's really a big struggle for a lot of families, and thinking like, is it going to be like this always? Is it always going to be like this? No, it's not. just keep going, keep moving forward with it, and believe that it's going to change and get better. So I have to come back to, really it's all about the mindset and perspective. So stop looking at what should be or what you think should be happening, or paying attention especially to what others think should be going on, and focusing on non-judgment of yourself especially, but also of your child and of the situation of the diagnosis. And then also looking at putting your energy towards everything positive, and that means taking care of ourselves physically and internally, and looking at what we're doing for exercise or for relaxation, for our nutrition, for our surroundings. What are we surrounding ourselves with? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? And what positive messages are we fueling our brains and our bodies and our souls with all of the time? That became a huge part of what I did. And I share about that all the time with what I do with fitness and with personal development and with growing connections with with my team and with people that live that and live and breathe that positivity and that health and wellness focused mindset. So there's my tips. I hope they're helpful. If you have questions or ever want to reach out and ask anything, if you're watching this in the playback, please feel free to comment. I'll check back on here and answer any questions you may have. Thanks, and I hope this was helpful to you. See you later.